Happy Monday morning, everybody. It's a fantastic start to the week here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's about 15 degrees Celsius, sunny, not a cloud in the sky, and I'm pumped to talk to you guys about the Atone method, otherwise known as low heart rate training. But it's a spice of low heart rate training. We know there's lots of them. We know there's 80-20. There's probably a bunch of different other blends, but this one specifically has piqued my interest. Now, I'm going to give you guys a very brief overview of the Atone method, just a very layman's term type deal, because I'm not a very scientific guy. So you're not going to get that in this video. Maybe that'll come in a future video, because I'm reading his book right now all about this. And then I'm going to talk about why I'm doing this specifically now. Why do I feel that right now is the best time to start with the Atone low heart rate training? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about why I haven't done a MAF test yet, which we'll explain in a minute here what that is, why I haven't done one right away, and what I'm going to be doing to kind of balance it between running and cycling. How am I going to do those tests differently? We'll talk about that as well. And then I'm going to give you a very brief of what I've done so far, my runs and bikes I've done using this method, just show you where I'm starting at, because I haven't done any low heart rate training. There's tons and tons of videos of MAF training after 500, 1,000 miles type deal, but that doesn't show you where they started. So they can kind of demotivating in my opinion, because we see these people being able to go for long distances at relatively fast paces for that low of a heart rate. But what we don't see is them having to walk to keep their heart rate in that type of area and the low paces that they started at. So I want to bring you guys along on the journey of start to finish, where I'm starting from today, so you can see that when you're out there doing this low heart rate, you are not alone in having to walk to keep your heart rate below that threshold. Oh, and hey, sorry for the interruption, but if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you like this type of stuff, that's running training, cycling training, Atone method stuff, all that good stuff, anything related to endurance sports, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We have a lot coming up on the channel for you fine folks. Okay, back to the video. I'm sorry for this interruption. Now, without further ado, let's get into what exactly is the Atone method. The Atone method is essentially just a flare of low heart rate training, as I said. But rather than 80-20 training, you're doing low heart rate all the time. Your heart rate's not going above that magic number that we're going to give you in just 1 second here. Now, what this does is what Dr. Atone says it does anyway, is that it's a perfect blend of between fit and healthy. We know there's tons of elite athletes out there that are super fit, but they may not be healthy. And to me, that didn't make a whole lot of sense at first, but once I started reading a bit more about it, it did start to make a little bit of sense. They're constantly putting their body under stress, which makes them more susceptible to illness and injury, so they're not really healthy, but they're extremely fit, because they can go hours and hours and hours putting out that high power, going very fast, faster than we probably, well, for me anyway, will ever be able to hit. But they're not necessarily the most healthy of individuals. Now, to get started with the Atone method, it's quite simple really. He has this magic formula. It's 180 minus your age, and there's a few other conditions that if you have like seasonal allergies, or if you're recovering from a big surgery, you have to minus 10 and 5 or something like that. I'll put all the information you need right over here somewhere, I think. So for me, that magic number is 180 minus my age, which is 25, so 155, and I have seasonal allergies, so that's another 5 off of the top there. So my maximum aerobic heart rate that I'm going to be keeping under for all of my training is 150 beats per minute. Now, for me, that actually is a number that I stayed under for most of my last year's training as well. No particular reason I wasn't aiming to, but just looking back at the data, I barely went over that average of 150 beats per minute heart rate. Maybe that was a sign that I wasn't training hard enough, or maybe it was just gearing me up to better do this method now. Maybe past Brendon had foresight into future Brendon. Who knows? That's some interstellar stuff right now that I need to have a sip of coffee to kind of get my head back down to this earth. Guys. All right, so why am I starting to do the Atone method now? And really, I think right now is one of the best times that all of us endurance athletes can start implementing this low heart rate training. Now, races are a very distant thing. We don't know exactly when they're going to come back, if they're going to come back in 2020, and if they do I really want to go in that big crowded area? I know for sure I'm not going to be traveling to any races, so for me, right now, I'm not going to be working on any top end speed. And with low heart rate training, my top end speed is going to go down. Down at first anyway. The hope is once you have done a few successful MAF tests and you're all good, you can start implementing a bit more speed work. But definitely off the cut, you're going to be losing a lot of your top end speed. So we don't need that for the races. So why not start doing it now, right? Exactly. This is perfect. I don't need any speed. I just need to build my aerobic engine so that I can better build that speed in the future. And another reason is that with low heart rate training, you're putting much less stress on your body. You're going to be less susceptible to injury and illness. And with everything going on in the world right now, I kind of want not to be more susceptible to illness, if you ask me. That sounds like a great idea. So for those two reasons, I think right now is the best time that I could think of to start low heart rate training, which is kind of weird because typically in June, I'm starting to ramp down my training because I'm working on that top end speed, trying to maintain what I got. But this year's different. We're all going through different changes. Now, I've mentioned a MAF test a few times now without really explaining what that is, and I apologize for that. I really do apologize, but I'm going to settle that right now. So, based on that magic number I gave you before, the 180 minus all those conditions, you're going to run at that heart rate and see how fast you go. So your MAF test initial pace may be 10 minutes per kilometer, but that's okay. That's your MAF test. We're going to slowly work on that and bring that down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this MAF test in a few weeks' time. The reason I'm waiting is because I want to build my base a little bit before going into that MAF test where I've been I've been pretty immobile lately. I've just been chilling. So I want to make sure that I have that base to run this MAF test. They say you should run 5 miles or so, but I don't know if I'll do a full 5-mile MAF test or not. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, like I said, we're not very scientific on this channel just yet. We're getting better though. So for the running side of the things, you run at that MAF heart rate and record your pace, and that is your MAF pace. For biking, there's no real literature on this. I'm going to invent this right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ride at my MAF heart rate and record the power at that heart rate. And hopefully over time, what I'm hoping is my power will go up for that same heart rate. Not sure how this is going to go because like I said, we haven't seen too much literature online about that. If anyone has some ancient text sitting around with that, please make sure to leave them in the comments section down below. But that's, again, going to wait a few weeks' time. So I'll probably do my MAF test in the middle of June is my guess. And I want you guys to be there right there with me. So how about you hit that subscribe button to see how this MAF test goes. And I want to hear your MAF test journeys as well. So leave your experience down in the comment section down below. Have you done this MAF training already? Are you one of the people that have gone that 1,000 mile and have seen the results already? I want to know. Leave it down below. So that is really the intro to MAF training, why I think it's the best time to do MAF training for myself anyway, because I don't need that top end speed and I want to lower my risk for illness and injury, and exactly what is a MAF test and how am I going to do it for biking. With that stuff out of the way, I hope you got some good information about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about my initial training over the last few days. So I've done a bike and a run with my heart rate under 150 beats per minute. Actually, well below 150 beats per minute. I did a 4-kilometer run or something like that on Saturday, and my average heart rate was 136 beats per minute for an average pace of 7 minutes per kilometer. That's pretty embarrassing. So just so you know, it's like I said, it's going to be slow paces starting off. That's fine. And then I did a bike yesterday. I averaged 117 beats per minute. I'll put all this information over here somewhere. It was a very light ride. I'm not very good with pacing bikes, so I need to get better at that because I was like 33 beats off my MAF heart rate, right? So yeah, I got to work on that. And I think my average power was like 130 30 watts, something like that. Oh, like I said, it's all over here. You're seeing it as I'm speaking about it. But that's going to be all for this edition of the Low Heart Rate Diaries. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit more of an in-depth dive into the Atone method in the next few days because I'm reading the book, some interesting stuff. What I'm gathering is that it's more like a lifestyle thing rather than specifically for endurance athletes. What he said is that it was initially for people to lose fat, so pretty interesting. I guess when you're working at these lower heart rates, you're burning a bunch of fat for fuel, your body's getting more efficient at burning it for fuel, and we have a lot of it. Well, at least I have quite a bit of it. So if I could tap into this, I'd be quite happy. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic start to your week. It's almost summertime. Oh, and for my American friends, happy Memorial Day. For us Canadians here, that was last weekend. It was Victoria Day. Today, I have to actually get ready and go into work. That's interesting. I haven't been to the office in a long time, but all right, I'm going to finish up this coffee. Hope you have a fantastic night. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time.